Andy Lowen, welcome back.
Hi, Stephen Radford.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for our opening.
Yeah, I need to tone down the sexiness. It's too sexy.
Yeah,
I'm always too
too much.
sexy.
This is not, how's your mom?
Yeah, where's your mama gone? Where's your mama gone?
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Well, who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
No, funny how? I mean, funny like a clown.
I'm Peter Venkman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Man that doesn't spend time with his family will never be a real man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big deal.
First rule of Fight Club is do not talk about it like that.
Yeah, baby.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Welcome to Frame by Frame, everybody. This is a podcast where Andy and I talk about all things movies, TV shows, music, visual media, non-visual media.
Esoteric meanderings.
Yeah, and
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
or when we just compare Tom Cruise to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Anything goes. Anything goes.
Yeah, it's the dead eyes. It's the dead eyes.
It's the eyes. It's in the eyes. He has his father's eyes. Okay, so this, for those who are listening, thank you very much for listening. We are over on Amazon. We're over on Spotify. We are over on YouTube if you want to hear us there as well. And I'm missing something.
Audible?
iTunes.
iTunes.
For those Macintosh people.
Yes.
There's a Macintosh person over there. Hi, I'm a PC person. Hey, do you remember those commercials? Hi,
I do know,
I'm a
yeah.
Macintosh person. And I'm a roll the clip.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
I'm into doing fun stuff like movies, music, and podcasts.
And I also do fun stuff like spreadsheets and timesheets and pie charts.
Yeah, PC, it's quite hard to capture a family holiday with, say, a pie chart.
Not really. For example, this light grey area could represent shenanigans and tomfoolery, while this dark grey area could represent hijinks. And you see here, we further divided hijinks into capers, monkey business, and just larking about.
Wow. I feel like I was there.
You found it.
We rolled it. We feel so nostalgic. Yeah, there we go. So, Andy, what are we talking about today?
Well, because of the exciting news of there's going to be an X-Files reboot, we thought we'd talk a little bit about that, and then maybe we talk about the standalone episodes, a couple of them, and then a standalone episode of Deep Space Nine, which you brought to the table.
Yeah, and we brought that to the table for a very simple reason: is that there is a kind of a link, correlation, and it's a trope, and it's the trope. It's the Dorothy Wizard of Oz trope, really.
Well, she seems all right now.
Yeah, she got quite a bump on the head. We kind of thought there for a minute she was going to leave us.
Oh.
But I did leave you, Uncle Henry. That's just the trouble. And I tried to get back for days and days.
There, lie quiet now. You just had a bad dream.
Sure. Remember me?
Your old pal, Hunk?
Oh.
Me? Hickory?
You couldn't forget my face, could you?
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you were there.
Oh, sure.
But you couldn't have been, could you?
Oh, we dream lots of silly things when we...
No, Aunt Em. This was a real, truly live place. And I remember that some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful. But just the same, all I kept saying to everybody was, I want to go home. And they sent me home. Doesn't anybody believe me?
Of course we believe you, though.
Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home. Home. And this is my room. And you're all here. And I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again. Because I love you all. And, oh, Auntie Em, there's no place like home.
But it's that fantasy episode where do we say reality goes out the window?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember saying before that when we did an X-Files episode, we talked about how X-Files was set in the real world, but talked about all the crazy stuff. But
Yes.
Star Trek was in like a crazy world, but talked about real things.
That's right. Yes. So there
You
it
know.
is. Wow, that's perfect. So
Yeah, and I think especially when X-Files was at its peak, so was Next Generation, wasn't it? You know, and
yeah, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. And I think television was different then. It was serialized TV. There were sometimes arcs, but it's the standalone episodes where they were able to do things that normal television wouldn't do. It has to get to a certain level of, that all the actors have to be comfortable with each other before they break away from the structure.
yeah, and because X-Files went so deep into the mythos, and at times it was difficult, and some of the episodes were so dreary and so difficult, and I used to look forward to the standalone episodes. Sometimes they called them like the Monster of the Week episode. And
That's it. Yeah.
And X-Files to me now, when I go back to it, the ones I go back to the most are the ones that have got a bit more levity about it. Because they were so good, like David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are so good at comedy.
Yeah.
That when they did a comedic episode, I was like, oh, thank God! It's I really, really enjoyed it. So
the ones that you go back to definitely are the ones that are standalones.
Yeah,
you don't go back to the Mythos episode. If you go for the Mythos, where do you start? You can't.
Well, exactly. Yeah, let's go back to. Oh, right. So, Scully's immortal now, isn't she? Because of that. When did that happen? What happened to the kid? Why haven't we seen the kid anymore? Where's all the black oil goo gone? What's happening? It's that kind of.
I want the Krychek. Any Krychek episode, because he always appears in those ones as well.
He does.
Poor guy. He never actually appeared in a standalone and had fun.
Oh, he was always the bastard.
He's always. But I go back to.
Can that be the tagline to this episode? Krychek, always the bastard.
Always the bastard. Yeah. I mean, to me, I think X-Files peaked season 2. When I go back to episodes, it's always season 2 that I love the most. Host, Little Green Men. All those. Yeah, so I was able to name so many.
The first 2 episodes.
First 2 episodes of season 2, then scrap the rest. Right up to.
I honestly think that like season 5 and 6 have the best episodes they ever did, but it's the standalone episodes.
Yeah,
I think it's the best. Like, because the Mythos went too far and it was too difficult. I think season 4 was like really, really grim, and was hardly any levity in that at all. That's when it was the family episode, where it was like the inbreds episode that actually only aired once, and then they got took off and was never allowed to go back on TV. It was that dark,
Yeah, I remember that. It was
before we
episodes.
Yeah. Before we talk about that, then, so what do you think of a revival, a renaissance, reimagining of the X-Files coming along?
Well, we've seen it before. I think we tend to get caught up in the idea that it's got to be Mulder, it's got to be Scully, and they've got to be in it forever. Otherwise it's not X-Files. They tried to do sideshows. They tried to do the Lone Gunman, which didn't fly, didn't work. They tried really hard with that show. Actually, at least it was entertaining. Millennium was a kind of like a crossover kind of thing where they had Lance Henriksen doing something different. But the whole idea is if it hasn't got the X-Files label on it, then it's not going to do the business. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and I think they put too much stock into the X-Files as a product to like the dude out of Millennium. What's the guy's name? The actor
Lance Henriksen.
Lance, thank you.
Yes.
Like that was really good episodes, and and that was another little mini thing within the X-Files, little mini episode, mini storyline, which was really well. And as the Lone Gunman being characters, They were just really fun
They were fun.
conspiracy nuts. But to think that they could withstand in a season all by themselves, I think maybe it was Chris Carter's ego getting in the way, thinking everything I do is amazing, every idea I have is incredible. But let's do this.
Lynn Morgan and James Wong had written them to sort of become the kind of even more paranoid group than Agent Mulder. In fact, that's the way they were billed, as the paranoids. They were funny. They ended up becoming, for the writers subsequent to that, a kind of comic relief. We'd always go to the Lone Gunmen when we wanted strange and weird facts, information.
X-Files came along at a time, it was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It came around at a time where we needed this. We needed something that dealt with conspiracy theories, and the way it worked.
It contextualized everything. It gave a name to everything.
But now, everything, everyone's in conspiracy theories. You got Trump and all that crap going on. Do we need that? Because it's Ryan Coogler who's shown the interest in rebooting it, and everyone's given the go ahead if he wants to do it. So it looks like it probably will happen. What angle can he come at now that would be different from what we need now from an X-File?
And it's all about finding that new angle. It's about finding something that is. It's not going to just be a political thing either. They're not just going to, they need to kind of step back. Maybe just bring it back to the grassroots of what X-Files was. If they're ever going to do it, but they will never do that. They will never actually just go back to, the plain and simple alien abduction story. You'll never see that ever again.
Probably not. No, probably. I mean, we have UFOs that are now in the news, and everyone just kind of goes, "All right."
Yeah.
And you're thinking the governments and the military saying there are these things, we don't know what they are,
but now we don't believe them. Yeah,
but now we're kind of like, oh yeah, whatever.
It's fake. It's AI, and that's every episode of this new X-Files will be, look, we've got footage of you. And say, well, obviously that's not me, that's AI. Okay, that's the end of the episode.
I'm not exactly clear on how we escaped.
What's not clear?
Once you recognize that we were under a chemical influence, then it simply kind of broke its spell.
That's right.
Scully, how could we simply will ourselves out of a chemical hallucination?
Well, the fact remains we did.
Did we? Can you name me one drug that loses its effect once the user realizes it's in a system?
I assume the effects wore off to the point that you were both able to make your escape.
Scully, how long were we underground? Hours? Half a day? How come our bodies don't show any effects of being burned by the digestive fluids? We were covered in hydrochloric acid, yet look at our skin. Nothing.
Agent Mulder, where are you going with this?
Scully, we never escaped. We're still trapped underground.
Mulder, we did escape. I think you're suffering from post-traumatic stress.
I'm not. This is not real. You're not real.
Mulder,
I'll prove it, Scully. Prove it.
Mulder!
We can't prove it. Yeah. We can't prove
it. The end of every episode would be like Black Mirror. It was all in a phone. Everything was in a phone. Everything was.
That was it.
I just don't know how much we need it now. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think the world has changed so much where we're all connected. Back when the X-Files came out, we weren't connected. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these things you had to look for. So it was kind of like the X-Files was like that club that you go to every week.
Yeah.
To just sit down and talk about paranormal stuff because nobody else was. It was niche. It was a cornerstone market. It was nothing.
Yeah.
Oh! By the way, Andy, we've gone too far.
Oh.
We didn't say that the clock was running.
Tick-tock.
Whoa! Step it back, dude.
Who's the black private dick who's a sex machine with all the chicks? Shaft. Can you dig it? They say this cat Shaft is a bad mother. Shut your mouth. Talking about Shaft.
Whoa!
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
Oh man, you know what? You put on the heat way too much. That
I can't help it.
You had me at hello.
I'll have what she's having.
Are there any others? Please write in with your selective response. So yeah, okay. Back in the day, it was a club that you could just sign up to, and enjoy, knowing that nobody else was really into it, and they want to make X-Files mainstream, so it's never going to be good if their goal is only to make money.
Depends what idea they have, I guess. I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Coogler, he wrote Black Panther, Creed. He's brilliant, isn't he? He's a really good filmmaker, and in fact, did he direct Black Panther as well? And that's an Oscar-winning film. It's a brilliant film. So he could bring something brilliant to the table. Who knows?
He could.
It could be different.
It could be different. Especially coming from a different ethnic background as well, and having, there could be things that we haven't seen before. Positively, if they're going to do it right, seeing it from a different perspective. How many episodes did we watch where the actors, where the people in the story were black?
Well, now you just predicted what I was thinking. X-Files was very, very, very whitewashed.
Yeah. So much.
So now I'm talking myself around. I think it could be great.
So it could be the whole, live and let die kind of, let's get into some sort of ethnic corners of the world where we don't know what we think we know.
Yeah. Then you're going to get all the arseholes going, keep the X-Files white.
Keep the X-Files. I know, but it's like, no, let's just go there. Let's try and find something different. But it's like I say, if it's going to be called the X-Files, it's going to be whatever the X-Files was. If it's not going to be what the X-Files was, should the name be any different? Should the name be? It's you can't just call it the X-Files because that was this and this is that. It's like 24 when they tried to do a reboot of that. They just called it. Was it
12?
I think they actually did have a shorter season, but they still called it 24. And I'm not too sure. I was like, that's not going to work.
We just started watching that again. Tracy had never seen it. We just started watching it again. Yeah, started season 1.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? It's great. 24 is...
It's really good, and it's nail-biting, and it's great. It's slightly dated in bits now when you're watching it.
It is,
when you watch early X-Files, not so much dated. I watched a few, and I'm like, it still stands up. Well, it's like every episode was like a little mini movie, wasn't it? It was really well done, really good production value, very good. And where they didn't have the money, they were very good at hiding it.
Yeah, they hid them. I think the one thing that the one thing that stood out to me was the music was always the same. They always had the same.
Yeah, Mark Snow wasn't the best composer.
Was it clarinet? Always kind of like just in the
Well, it was just, but it was a synth clarinet, wasn't it? So it just sounded like synths.
Yeah, if they could do something different with the music to make the sound a little bit less pooky at moments. It's not mocking, but that's the kind of the part of the show that I like the least. Was I know I'm watching X-Files because of the music.
Yeah.
But then it gives it that identity. That's fine.
It does, but it does ache. It does come across as just a dude sat at a keyboard.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean?
It gave its identity.
It did give it identity, even if it did, like you say, get very boring. The man can write a good soundtrack because when the X-Files films come out, they're actually, big orchestras, and it's actually quite, it's not a bad sound. It's not incredible, but it's not bad. You can clearly do that with the budget. But most of the time, it did just sound like a dude sat at a keyboard watching it and going, ooh, do, 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 and
dude with a keyboard, and that is it. Dude with a keyboard.
Dude with a keyboard. Second tagline.
The second tagline. Yes, we're gonna have many posters for these.
The reboot, because Gillian Anderson has said that with Ryan Coogler attached, she'd be happy to be in, even if she was just in the background for one little bit.
Yes, she said she'd do a cameo. She said she'd do a cameo.
Yeah, I'd have her as assistant director Scully. That'd be great.
Why not? This pass the torch, but do it properly. Elevate the material. Don't just shy away from the fact that X-Files has its roots and its characters.
Yeah, and maybe just have 4 episodes or 5 episodes of incredible quality.
Yeah, why not?
And then yeah, or think of something different, you know.
Yes.
But I can see where it's coming from. You know, I'm skeptical, but I like the people involved who's interested in doing it. So
I
we shall.
Yeah, I like the idea of shorter seasons as well, because they only do 10 episodes now for the last couple of X-Files. I mean, 10 seems to be the number. Of course, if this was England, then it would be 6. But but they were cranking out 24 episodes, and you can't get quality episodes with that. You're bound to just have an episode where a cow gets mutilated, and it's this weird guy who runs a milk, who sells bad milk, you know, and that's it, you know. And you're thinking, or the frog episode, which was quite boring.
Yeah, but that makes when you get an episode like the couple we'll talk about really stand out.
Exactly.
Because when you've got, like, say, one of the ones we're going to talk about is Triangle, is absolutely, that's incredible. Like, you know, the filmmaking is amazing in it. The idea is great. You know, it's really funny as well. And it's dealing with a very important part of history. And, you know,
you see, with that thing, because it is they call this one of those episodes. This is a big money episode. This is where they put a lot of budget in, because they not only have to have completely different sets. It's period sets. It's period costumes. It's period set, but it's also an opportunity for them to experiment with the camera. In a way that they never did. They wouldn't do on a frog episode. They wouldn't say, okay, for the frog episode, we're going to have the longest take ever. And they'll be like, we don't have a budget for this. This is a frog episode. No, but we'll have a little bit left over when we do the costume drama episode.
Yeah. But that also made me think, though, was the FBI headquarters an actual building? It must have been, to get that shot right. So there's for anyone who might not know, there's a single take shot, isn't there, where Scully is trying to find out where Mulder's gone. Mulder's done one of his things where this boat that's resurfaced has not been seen and disappeared in World War II, isn't it?
Yes.
It's just reappeared. So Mulder's done a Mulder and gone, not told anyone, and just sodded off to to find it. And Scully's trying to figure out what's happened. And there's a single take shot of her trying to figure out and going all around the FBI headquarters.
Exactly.
And it's a single take. I can't, unless some of the...
It is a working elevator, because she comes out and they definitely, unless they wouldn't just lie and say they did a cut. Oh, I've lost Andy. Oh, hang on, I've lost Andy. Andy's gone off on a mission somewhere.
One of the earlier shows I mentioned.
Hang on.
I'm
going to have to walk around FBI headquarters to figure out where Andy is. Does Andy know I'm... I'm just going to have to disconnect him. Bingo, here we go. There you are, what happened?
I don't know, you just went off, it just went blank.
No, you went off, you went blank.
No, you did.
No, you did. You went off on your mission, Mulder.
Stop busting my balls, as Mulder said. It's a ghost in the machine.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
7, 8, 29th floor, 30th floor. 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39, 20, 30, 39. Going down.
Program executed.
Yeah, so it's like she gets in the elevator and she definitely comes out and she's on a different floor. They're not, unless they just quickly shifted sets very fast.
Yeah, I can't imagine him doing that.
I mean,
unless they just use like an office building somewhere in Vancouver, and then that's the X-Files headquarters, and we'll just use that. I don't know, but
that's it. I mean, it's possible. It's very, very possible. I mean, it all looked the same as what we'd seen in the show before, so they very well may have actually had built all those sets permanently.
Yeah.
Could have been.
But it's very impressive. This is directed by Chris Carter as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, which is impressive because he does have what it takes. He does have the chops.
Yeah.
And ego be damned, it's like with 24. I mean, I think he had an ego as well, especially because it was all gun ho stuff. But this is more. This is to make it interesting. Corridor talk is never interesting, and he probably thought that. He probably panicked. He thought, well, we've got Mulder doing all this interesting stuff, and all she's going to do is just wander around looking for Mulder. How do I make it interesting?
Hold on, I'll be off in a... Hold on. Hello? No. I can't understand. I can't.
Is that you?
Is it you?
I'm trying to reach you. I got the information you needed.
How?
Don't even ask.
Sir, what you've done...
To save Mulder's ass, I know. And if you ever ask me to break policy or protocol, I will have you written up, wrapped up, and tossed out of the FBI for good. Am I understood, Agent Scully?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And how can you have all these characters coming in and out, and
yeah,
it's also quite funny. It's comedic, which you give Skinner that kiss and that. It really works. It's really interesting. Before I forget, I can't look at Chris Carter and not think MacGyver. He just looks like MacGyver.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
doesn't he?
It was the 90s hair, and I think
grey.
The grey. No, that's the Steve Martin look.
But yeah, he looks like MacGyver. He looks like he's no Lynch.
So yeah, I mean, the longest shot thing has become a challenge for every TV show since as well. I mean, X-Files might have just been one of those early ones where it was a big thing. I mean, they did it in the movies, the Goodfellas, you name it. I named one.
Birdman.
Birdman, yes, yeah,
exactly. It was
later on.
Apparently an entire shot, but obviously it's not. It's very cleverly edited.
Yeah.
Which inspired It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia to do a single take bit as well. I don't know if you ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's like
I haven't.
Yeah, it's just very dark, humoured show. It's very good.
I think The Sopranos, they all started doing it. It became like a thing. It's like you've got to. It's like you get to 100 episodes or something, and you then have to do something like that.
Yeah.
It's almost
At
like
one point in your career, you got to do a one-take shot, man. But they do two. They do two, don't they? They do a one-take shot, and then they do another one on the boat, where it's the two dimensions sort of mingling with each other. Do you remember when Scully walks past the self in both dimensions and they can't look back at each other, which is very clever. It's very well done.
Which is actually the same thing that happened in the movie Triangle. With
very good.
With
with that actress in it.
That actress, that Australian actress.
Yeah, that's a very good film. It's a very good film.
I love Triangle and any films with triangles in it.
What came first, the triangle or the triangle?
Triangle. It was X-Files Triangle came first. I mean,
did you check it
the movie Triangle? But the thing is,
Melissa George.
Melissa George, exactly. I mean, I went into the episode of Triangle thinking this is going to be a Bermuda Triangle episode, but they never. I mean, even when I watched the movie, the old 70s movie Bermuda Triangle, they never ever do the story of the Bermuda Triangle. It's always it's a layer. It's a base layer of something, and then they put something completely different and subversive on top.
They do. I think it's because they all Google how big is the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah,
Because it's fucking huge.
it is massive.
It's 1,510,000 square miles. So when you look at that, you go, well, obviously things get lost in there. Things go missing.
If you move that triangle, if you move that triangle anywhere else, then you might even find the missing member of Manic Street Preachers. You know, it's like,
wow.
Oh, deep cut.
Deep cut, very good. Like it very much.
I thought, who's missing? Who's missing? Yeah, I mean Amelia Earhart, of course. You know, it's that whole presumed dead. It's Absenthia. Is it Absenthia or something?
Yeah, but you could kind of Google that and then just sort of go, "Oh my god, the Bermuda Triangle." I think it's contention. It's somewhere between 500,000 and 1,500,000, depending on who's talking about it. But it's massive, so of course things go missing in there.
Yeah, so I mean, if it was just 2 square miles, not that square is going to be a triangle. Mathematicians, please shame me. Then it's going to be more of a miracle circumstance, amazing circumstance. But it never is, and it seems to me that like Lost or Manifest, these shows where things that planes crash and get lost, and reality bends. It's never the triangle, or is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. They tend to think that the triangle kind of extends all around the world.
Yeah. So what kind of happens is Mulder tries to get there. There's a bit of a shipwreck, and he gets saved by this boat. But now he's in World War II, and
it takes him a while to figure that out.
It does, yeah. But all of a sudden he realizes, and there's kind of a race against time where Scully's trying to find out where he's from all the time. All the actors that are in the X-Files are now on this boat, but playing different characters from history.
Because you've got it's a British boat, isn't it?
Yeah.
With American...
Some very dodgy British accents.
Yeah. Yeah, because they all start beating him up and dragging him out and going, Oi, Miyake.
Yeah.
Oi,
Gavner.
Oi, Gavner, what are you doing? What?
Get out of my engine room, you bagger.
What's he talking about? I don't know.
Yeah. Poor blimey,
Gavner.
What a rubbish.
For the band. That's Australian.
There's some Australians there as well.
They probably actually would have. Yeah, they probably had that accent as well. But they've got the British beat 'em up crew. You've got all the boats hierarchy, of course, and then of course the Germans are there to take over the boat. It's the whole thing about the seizure of this boat.
Yeah. And obviously, the bad people are the X-Files. And it's funny that Skinner still plays the character that you're still not quite sure about. So he's like with the Nazis, isn't he? But then he saves them, and
he's always the turncoat, always the one who's the. But it's kind of like, isn't the triangle in the Pacific? So wouldn't it be Japanese? I mean, is this based on a real story about this boat?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's based in history because that's Chris Carter's thing is history, isn't it? It's very.
It is. Yeah. So because it confused me, I kind of thought, well, why would they be so? Why would the Germans be that close? Wouldn't it be the Japanese in that waters? But yeah, it was always an excuse to have Nazi uniforms and to have characters playing. I mean, they've done that in Star Trek as well, of course.
They link together really well.
These two, because of
particularly brilliantly well, So
these 2 episodes, especially, are episodes where the original cast plays a different cast of characters.
Yeah. In different times, they've got this certain. Parallels we can draw between particularly these 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I can safely say that with Far Beyond the Stars, the Deep Space Nine episode, it takes you back to the 1930s.
Yeah,
I think it's just predating World War II. It's filmed on the Warner Brothers lot. They had.
You can tell that as well. Yeah, you can tell that.
Very typical. It's the same set that they used for for every time travel episode, basically, where they go back to
Right.
Earth, which is fine, you know, but because it's the story that counts. It's the story here, especially, that counts. And similarly to that, of course, there's the gateway in, and it's kind of like this fantasy, almost like hallucinations for the character Benjamin Sisko, who starts to see characters just walking around the station who are not from his time.
But where they say that he's having, so I would imagine
Visions.
he's had something similar a year ago. They mentioned that he's had, because this is something that's similar to this thing that happened a year ago.
Yeah, he's basically been branded a prophet from the very first episode. He is an emissary to the religious order of Bajor, and they opened up a wormhole, and there's a species inside the wormhole of aliens which the Bajoran people worship as prophets, and they all have different kind of gods that kind of like they idolize within the idea of their religion. And of course, Benjamin Sisko, who is now the commander of Deep Space Nine, which is at the gateway to the wormhole, he's idolized by the Bajorans as a prophet. So he has experiences every so often, but this is the first time he goes full blown into a kind of a reality. It's almost like an alternative reality to his character. That it is him, but it's not him. Basically,
Right.
It's saying so much about who he is. He is Benny Russell, this character that he becomes entangled with in time.
All right, I haven't got a title for this one yet. Anybody got any ideas?
I'll think of something.
Here was a man who was trying to make a living as a sci-fi writer. I mean, just a fascinating idea. And coming face to face, you know, with racism, which was not a new thing. I mean, that's the way the world was, period. I thought it was a very, very strong story.
Far Beyond the Stars is without question my favorite episode. It is perfect science fiction.
Brilliant episode. I think one of the best of the whole series. And again, Avery did a fabulous job of directing it.
It was a show that should have been like a two-parter because it was wonderfully shot. And, they spent a lot of time and effort making it look like the 40s and all that. And so it should have been a longer episode.
Everybody's there. You were there too. You were there too. You know, Rene Auberjonois, who kind of acts like he's in Boston Legal role for later on. I mean, that's probably how he got the gig, because this is, you know, he's the head of this
publishing company.
Wow. Yeah.
But he's struggling to get anything put out under his name because obviously he's black and racism was rife in the time. And so the X-Files episode is it's a bit more, even though it's dealing with a really important part, they do it in a sort of comedic way, and I think the long take and the way they're trying to technically film it takes you out of the story a little bit, and it's more of a technical episode where this is deep and dark and
deep. Yeah,
it is. It's very upsetting.
It is, because I mean, there are women who work for the publishing company as well, and they of course have to have male pseudonyms.
Yeah,
like DC Fontana, of course, is a well-known writer in real life who always went under DC instead of Dorothy because she would never get anything published. Yeah. So imagine how that world would look if you were African American. I mean, it's tough.
Mr. Stone has decided to run a picture of you in next month's issue.
Was that absolutely
necessary? I'm afraid it is. Kay, you can sleep late that day.
Of course I can. God forbid the public ever finds out that Casey Hunter is a woman.
I suppose I'm sleeping late that day, too.
It's not personal, Benny, but as far as our readers are concerned, Benny Russell is as white as they are. Let's just keep it that way.
Oh, yes. If the world's not ready for a woman writer, imagine what would happen if it learned about a Negro with a typewriter. Star Trek, at its best, deals with social issues.
He's bringing ideas. Of course, all of his ideas get changed to get whitewashed.
Yeah.
all of the ideas do get whitewashed. And of course, that's kind of relevant now because we're talking about X-Files reboot, being...
Well, I was going to say, that's what I mean. There's such parallels between the two things that we decided to talk about, with the reboot of X-Files being made by, hopefully being made by, a guy, Ryan Coogler. And this episode being about racism.
About racism. And it's never that far away from us. I mean, we've never fully gone away from this whole idea of we can't have a black Ariel in The Little Mermaid, or we can't have this and that Black Annie. Get over it. And another Boston Legal episode. You see, it's all linked.
And given the discretion that has to be allowed to producers in these situations.
Your Honor, we have something called the Equal Protection Clause. We have something called the 14th Amendment. I believe it's actually required reading for judges. I could be wrong there.
Could I be heard, Your Honor? I heard about this matter. I would like to address this court on what I consider...
I'm sorry, Reverend, but you have no standing here.
I have standing as an American citizen speaking up on a civil rights violation. This child is being denied the right to play an American icon because she doesn't match the description. Those descriptions were crafted 50 years ago. We're supposed to be in a different day.
Reverend...
We talk about racial equality, how we're making progress. The problem with that progress is it's always a day away. Tomorrow, you love that because it's always a day away. I'm here to stick out my chin today. Give us an African-American Spider-Man. Give us a black that can run faster than a speeding bullet and leap over tall buildings in a single bound. Not tomorrow, today. Today. The sun needs to come out today, not tomorrow, Your Honor. God Almighty, give the American people a Black Orphan Annie. It's just not good enough to say she doesn't look the part.
There's a Romeo and Juliet, and Juliet's, I think, played by a black actress, and I think there's a big uproar about that at the minute. And yeah, hundreds of actors have all signed this open letter to condemn it and say, it's funny, isn't it? It's when you think you're coming quite
so
far. You're not. There's still pockets of people who get offended about these things, and
it's just bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But anyway, so the story is that Benny Russell, he's got an idea about this space station, and it's actually run by black people.
Yeah.
And there's a black captain, and and Deep Space Nine has such a strong ethnic diversity. I mean, it was always. I mean, Deep Space Nine was always diverse.
Yeah.
And but it just pulls all that up, and it's basically the whole whitewashing, saying no, we're gonna have to make them white, and then he's struggling throughout the whole episode to try and get this story sold.
Don't waste your time. You get back to work. You too, Roy.
Douglas, you're not going to stand there and tell us you don't like this story.
Oh, I like it all right. It's good. It's very good. But I can't print it.
Why not?
Oh, come on, Benny. Your hero's a Negro captain. The head of a space station, for Christ's sake.
What's wrong with that?
People won't accept it. It's not believable.
And men from Mars are?
Stay out of this, Herb. Look, Benny, I am a magazine editor. I am not a crusader. I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to put out a magazine. That's my job. That means I have to answer to the publisher, the national distributors, the wholesalers, and none of them are going to want to put this story on the newsstand. For all we know, it could cause a race riot.
Yeah.
As it is, not getting changed. He keeps on redrafting it, but keeping it black. And there are other characters who are struggling as well. There's there's the kid who is his son in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine reality, who gets into trouble because he's of course a bit of a con guy. So, and then you've got
there was parts of this episode. Sorry. There was parts of this episode that reminded me of American History X.
Yes, well, of course, Avery Brooks was in American History X.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So yeah, there is, and probably the time that this came out, both were kind of very close together in time. You know, it was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, similar to American History X, when you think things are starting to go okay,
yes,
it all comes crashing down.
And that's it.
They don't let you have it. There's no payoff. There's no happy ending to it.
No, there isn't. And there is such a strong message in this movie that you know, to basically just remind us, you know, it hasn't gone away. It's not, you know, this is how it was, and it's more than just making an awareness. It's really getting to the very fabric of how it feels to be discriminated against. And Avery Brooks performs his heart out.
It really does. That scene where he finds out that obviously his story isn't being published, and he just loses it and breaks down. My God, that's heartbreaking.
You can't fire me. I quit. To hell with you, and to hell with Stone!
Try to stay calm, Benny.
No, I'm tired of being calm. Calm never got me a damn thing.
I'm warning you, Benny, if you don't stop this, I'm going to call the police.
You go ahead, call them! Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore, and nor can any of you. I'm a human being, damn it. You can deny me all you want, but you cannot deny Ben Sisko exists. That future, that space station, all those people, they exist in here. In my mind, I created it. And every one of you know it. You read it. It's here. You hear what I'm telling you? You can pop a story, but you cannot destroy an idea. Don't you understand? That's ancient knowledge. You cannot destroy an idea.
I was actually shocked at how violent it was.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jeffrey Combs and
Jeffrey Combs.
Beating,
and when they beat him up, they don't. I mean, the camera's over it, and they're just not stopping. They're beating the living shit out of him. You do not stop.
Yeah.
And I was like really surprised at how long that scene went on for, because I was like, okay, this is daytime TV.
This is that is so Star Trek. I mean, it's, you know, in a way, I mean, Star Trek is kind of a lot darker now than it ever used to be. But they don't need to kind of do that. Doing it in slivers like this, it makes more of an impact, you know? Have your sci-fi adventure and then boom, hit you with something that you don't expect. Whereas now it's like boom, 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 trying to keep the boom going, and it's like the boom loses flavor.
Yeah, and there's always something poignant about policemen beating you up.
It is,
You know what I mean, about the police being the bad people, because you know I can't remember who said it, but you know, if you're getting beaten up by some skinheads, you know, you can go, oh, I hope a policeman walks by and helps me. But if you're getting beaten up by policemen, you don't really think, oh, I hope some skinheads walk by and help me out. You know?
It's true. Exactly. It's you know you're at the end of the line.
Yeah, but like up to that point, like I was saying, why it hits so badly. It's things are just going well. You know, he's just been for a night out with his girlfriend. His story's getting published. He's getting the money that he couldn't believe he was going to get for it. It's all going good. Then you hear a gunshot.
Yes.
Then that's when you hear the gunshot. He walks up in that. What's the relationship? Is he just a kid from the neighborhood?
He's just a kid from the neighborhood, but I mean, they're not related in that storyline. But like I say, it's his son. So there is kind of like in the reality of Star Trek, it's Jake Sisko, his son.
Yeah.
Cirrus Lofton. Sorry.
Then obviously he runs up to the kid, find the kid's been shot, but it's the policeman, the racist policeman that shot him because he was breaking into a car. But you don't know; it's ambivalent there whether he was breaking into the car? Was it his car? Was he just trying to get into it? Did he just see that a black kid was trying to get into a car, so they just shot him?
I mean, this was the time of O.J. Simpson being on trial, that kind of time. But then later on, about 10 years later, you've got like a spate of all this happening in America all the time.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, well, maybe it never went away, but it was kind of highlighted. But yeah, I mean, if you actually want to have a deep dive on this episode, go to Cyril Lofton's podcast. He actually, Jake Sisko has his own podcast called The Seventh Rule, and it's he talks about it in detail, and he talks about it with the writers. He talks about it with other actors. So yeah, it's worth going there for that.
I will. So there's one bit, when he breaks down in the when he finds out, obviously, so you think he's about to be killed because the police were beating him up that much.
Yeah,
but then it skips to like however long in the a few weeks in the future or whatever, and he's got a walking stick and he's just recovering from his injuries, and his girlfriend saying to him, "Go to the office. Today's the day. It's being printed." And you kind of think, oh well, there's going to be a bit of at least his story's going to be printed. Even though I didn't think it was going to be. And then obviously he gets there and everyone's like lovely and everyone's being nice, and it turns out his friend's getting his book published and it's about robots. Of course it's about robots. And then his boss walks in, and not only is it not being published, he's getting sacked as well.
Yeah.
And then he has this amazing scene where he just basically he loses it. He smashes all that stuff off the table, and he's just, he's just saying, like, let's be honest, this has got nothing to do with my story. It's because I'm black, and But then when he says, like, I'm a human being, I'm human, it reminded me a little bit of Elephant Man.
It does. Yes, I am human.
And I don't mean that in a jokey way. I mean that in a really dark, dramatic way. I draw a kind of a parallel between struggle, the struggle of just being
accepted, being recognized.
Yeah, absolutely. And
there is no difference. There is no difference, no matter how cosmetically you dress it. It's still being ignored for being such a worthy human being. I mean, every human being has something to give. Everybody, every single one of them.
Yeah.
The whole idea of being alive is so precious. It's amazing. I mean, look, we're just sitting here, but
yeah. Well, what's that quote? Life is wasted on the living.
Life is wasted on the living. Yeah.
But if I could then draw a parallel back to the X-Files episode, when he's in the engine room, the only people who's doing all the horrible graft are all the black people in the engine room who were doing all the coal into the big horrible fire pitch.
Yes. So that was still the norm.
Yeah,
and such an aggravated reality of the norm. It's a weird place.
I don't know about you, Stephen, but I think racism is bad.
I think it is a little bit iffy.
I think it's a bit wrong.
It's a bit wrong.
What's that Mark Maron quote that I love so much? Is saying racists must hate the idea of black and white people coming together. He says it takes what he'd say, one fuck. That's how Mark Maron would dress it up. But it takes one sexual intercourse to make white black, but it takes a whole lot of intercourse to get white back to white, to get black back to white again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it'll be out there somewhere.
I mean, it's going on now. I mean, the world is fractured because of ideas and ideals, and suffering has no color. Once we're bones, we're all the same.
Yeah,
we're never ever going to get that across to people, because
did we not learn from the ending of Volcano? Do you remember that? Do you remember that? So it's really ham-fisted and crap.
Really?
Well, you remember Volcano, the Tom Lee Jones?
Yeah, I recall it. I don't think I got to the ending.
Yeah, so all the soot's falling down, and there's this racist policeman in it who's really mean to this black kid, and towards the end, obviously the black kid ends up helping this policeman, and the policeman looks at him like, "What are you helping?" You sort of have this glance, And it's kind of like, I don't care what you think of me. I want to help these people. But anyway, at the end, the volcano's erupted, chaos has ensued, and all this soot is falling from the sky. And the black kid looks and goes, look, everybody looks the same. Because the soot's covered everybody,
We're all
and
the same.
you can't tell what color everybody is. And
but it's
really ham-fisted.
It is ham-fisted. Then they probably didn't have any other way of, without actually saying it.
Yeah,
you could see it pretty well. Sometimes things don't have to be said.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I never thought that we'd be talking about the ending of Volcano in this episode.
It's funny how these things happen, isn't it? What I love about what you brought to this with Deep Space Nine is how we can link them together. It's the same actors doing the same things.
Yes.
The same actors doing different characters, rather. But I mean, the same actors doing the same thing in both episodes. There's this by Ryan Coogler being the guy who might be reviving X-Files and coming from a different perspective. And where we are now as a society, where have we learned? Has a lot of people learned?
We seem to don't. Yeah, I mean,
does it? Because we've got this new political party in Britain now that are trying to, and they're making all these really shite memes. And I had a rant about it on Facebook because that's always a good thing to do. But there was this thing. And I hated it. It was a meme. It was a picture of these two dogs in the rain, and what was written on this is, "I will help out these poor." The essence is, I'm paraphrasing. I can't quite remember what it was, but it angered me. And what I said was, what it basically says is, "I would rather help out these two dogs than illegals," is what it said. And I was like, so I said, illegals, if anyone,
but what?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what is an illegal? You know?
But you know what it means. It's racist.
Yes.
It's racist.
Yeah, exactly.
It's these people that are fleeing for their lives from a country,
from trauma,
from they're trying to save the family. They're trying to do what's right.
Yeah,
and they're trying to come to a safe place. And that's the fucking shit that they're getting.
That's the one thing that they don't think. Put yourself in their shoes. Think about that. Think about you taking your kids, taking your wife, and maybe not even together, separate.
Yeah.
You don't know where they are. You don't know if they're alive, and you are fleeing with one child, one bag. Everything else is gone. Imagine that, and then coming to a country and then being told that you are an illegal.
Yeah.
And that you are meaningless.
And they're going to try and put you on a plane and send you over to Rwanda.
Exactly, and it's like, but you still don't know where the rest of your family are. I mean, there are people who come across. Was it that one woman survived? 17 members of her family perished trying to get across. I mean, they're not just doing it because they want to get, steal your jobs and get kicks and giggles. To get free housing, they're doing it because they need to survive, and they want to just live. They just want to live.
And a lot of the people who are and a lot of the people who are sharing these memes, and
exactly,
they're not bad people. They believe the shit that's fed to them from the Mirror and these far right newspapers.
Yeah,
and. They may be poor themselves and they may be struggling, and they are fed the lie that these people coming over and taking the jobs that you're right to have because they may be unfortunate to live in a certain place in Britain that there's not many opportunities, there's not many jobs, and they don't get to read the same things we read, or don't get to see the things that we get to see, and
exactly.
So they're not bad people. They're disenfranchised themselves.
Exactly, because what happens with newspapers is they will have these stories that suit their ideology, but they'll also have stories that suit everybody's ideology that we could all look back behind. Helping schools get better, improve the quality of schools and all that. They want to be social justice people for everybody, but then pushing their agenda on the side there. So they feel as though, how can I be wrong how can this message be wrong if it's telling me about all this other stuff as well that we all can stand behind?
Yeah.
So, and it's all hypocrite. It's hypocritical. It's all,
Yeah.
It
is. So
yeah,
I think what we've discussed now is
yeah,
it's sadly important to talk about still.
It is, because it's messing everybody's being messed with, and it's not helping the message. It's not helping the message of unity. I mean, I was thinking about the other day. I mean, where everybody's always throwing out aggravated stuff, negativity. We don't have the Nelson Mandela, the Mother Teresa, the Oprah. I say Oprah, but messages of love and hope and positivity. Where are those peacekeepers? Where are the people who are kind of putting things right? I'm not hearing anybody. They're silent.
They are. The only people I can think of are comedians who we talked about before, the truth tellers, who will get up there and they'll talk about horrible truths, but they can do it in a really funny way, which is sort of exposing, like what you're saying, the hypocrisy that's all around us, and say, I think it's just why people don't learn from it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's a lack of intelligence. I mean, the response and reaction to people is it's showing a lack of intelligence, because they're not able to step back and say, wait a second, and I'm not always right. I don't always know what messages are being fed to me that aren't real, but I at least have the tenacity to not spread what I don't know until I and make it a mission to kind of.
But I think the important thing is
what I think is right.
Exactly. I think if I could do one thing as a parent is teach my daughter to question everything.
Question everything, and don't.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Don't. We're all guilty of confirmation bias, but
confirmation bias is.
I probably should have watched the Star Trek episode a couple of days ago if it had the time, and not have it. I watched it an hour and 20 minutes ago, and now I'm like angry about racism.
It is a very. I mean, I when you were going to watch it, I thought it's going to go two ways. It's either either not going to be like, oh, this is just it's hard to tell because it's such an old episode, and you can see
it was funny when I was watching
it's a little hammy at times.
Yeah, and Tracy walked in. She was about to join in, and she just popped. She goes, "What's this?" I went, "Oh, it's an episode of Deep Space Nine. I'm going to talk about with Stephen in 45 minutes."
Yeah.
She went, "Oh, right." I thought it looked like an episode of EastEnders because it looks cheap. The way it's filmed looks a little bit cheap.
Yeah, I mean that's.
And I was sort of like, but
it is. It's
10 minutes in. Once it got past. When it got into the 1930s America and it started dealing with this stuff, I was like interested, and then towards the end, I was devastated.
Yeah,
as the episode ended, I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, because when I started the episode, I kind of thought, "Oh, yeah," I didn't remember how much of this at the beginning was just normal Star Trek, 2-shot, 1-shot, 2-shot, 1-shot, walking, talking, 2-shot, 1-shot.
And I liked how the Star Trek of it every now and then came in where someone would be wearing the Starfleet costume, Nelson wouldn't be.
Yes.
Is it Worf? Is Worf in this?
Worf, Michael Dorn is in it. Yeah, he's
baseball player. There's one bit where he's just full Klingon and he's scared and he jumps back and all of a sudden he's back to being the baseball player again.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like it's really well done. It's a great
and the same thing actually happens when Benny Russell is being beaten up by Jeffrey Combs and Mark Alamo. They
not literally by the actors.
By the actors.
They are playing characters.
By the characters. The policeman beating them up. They also do switches when they cut back to them as one's a Cardassian and one's a Jem'Hadar.
Yeah.
They switched that because it doesn't matter where you are in time. It's all the same. No matter what skin we're talking about, it's all the same. But what matters is that it is about black injustice. It is about that because that is where we've been. That's where we've been for so many centuries.
Yeah.
And it's time to just get real people and start letting us tell better stories that don't have to always be message stories. You know, we should be beyond this, but we're not.
We're not, but I'd like to live in a world where it's not even mentioned. The fact that, what's the cliche thing? I'm not racist. I've got a black friend.
Hey, of course.
That's kind of racist, mate, to even acknowledge, and for it to just be a thing, not even be a thing, rather, if someone's gay, if someone's trans, someone's whatever they are, for it to not even be, that's the world I'd like to live in a Star Trek world, which is what it's all about, isn't it? It's what Star Trek's incredible at, where you can walk down a street and there'll be a Klingon and a Romulan and all that, and you're just walking on the street because it's normalized.
Exactly.
All these people just living together in a beautiful society. I know, obviously, there's Star Trek, then there's wars and all that, but
yeah,
that's the world I'd like to live in, is a world where you can just walk down the street and it's not even mentioned that that someone is whatever they are. It's just normal, and it's a normal world. Everyone's accepted. Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, but you think you're going there. You think that that,
and then someone like Trump is president.
Then stuff, all that happens, and it's like, we don't want to go too deep into that, but almost half of the USA still backs him and believes in him. Have forgotten every single possible thing that he has said and done. It is astonishing. It is astonishing that they are still able to say, "Oh, none of that matters."
So maybe if X-Files is being rebooted, that is what they need to talk about. The fact that when it came in the 90s,
we were just pretending to be suspicious of everybody.
Yeah, maybe that was then. It was highlighting.
It's like war shouldn't. It's like everybody plays post-apocalyptic games. Everybody likes Fallout. They like Oppenheimer. They want to see it, but they don't. They want it to be narrative only. In narrative speak. I mean, it's we're always going to need villains in stories. We're always going to need devastation in stories because that's what people are fascinated with. It should be only in stories.
Yeah. Well, maybe X-Files can now be about how everyone denies the truth of things or ignores facts.
Yeah, it is.
To suit their agenda, where, Mulder's the guy who's always like, these are the facts, Scully. These are the facts, these things are happening. She's like, no, science, and no, I've not seen it, I don't believe it.
Yeah, but that was a beautiful thing because they both learned to listen.
Yeah, so maybe it can be one of the characters could be slightly racist but doesn't believe the racist, that kind of like the denial. So one of the characters, one of the Mulder and Scully's, could be someone who denies evidence because they want to believe this narrative, and the other one could be like, well, no, because of this, it's obvious. I don't know what I'm getting at, but
I know what you're getting. Yeah,
I think you know where I'm going. But
there's gonna be there has to be kind of a cultural angle where these things are. But then you don't want to use X-Files as this big truth sayer. You like you say, you've got the comedians who are telling the truth, and doing their thing. But TV series, the thing is, we want to escape. We want to, but be fed. It's still being fed. You're still being fed no matter what. And there's always going to be somebody who's going to say, "Oh, come on, you're baiting this, or you're pushing an agenda there." Everything is an agenda.
Yeah.
But that's what storytelling is. I mean, there's always going to be something that needs to be said.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like I say, it should be in story and narrative form. It shouldn't be out there in reality. Yeah,
because like this episode of Deep Space Nine has not said anything that's not been said before.
Yes,
it's like it's the color purple. It's you name 1,000, but it's still interesting that how much it still needs to be said.
It still needs to be said, exactly, because people aren't people aren't listening, and I sometimes wonder how hard is it to get people on board with the idea of living a civilized life and just living the best life that you can have without having all of these negative things. How hard is it to make you think, you know what, you'd be really happy if you just let go of all this stuff, just focus on just being happy. It's the whole Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
You know, if you can live without an audience, do it.
Yeah, do it.
But then everybody, to have an audience, you must have an agenda. You must have something that they want to hear that is, like you say, a bias.
Yeah.
And you can only have your audience, your people, the people who follow you are the ones that but why can't it be for everybody? If you're open-minded enough to understand that anything is possible, then why feel that you should be just this and that? It's labels. Labels are destroying things, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of labels now that like you're a lefty, you're a righty, and I'm like, what does that even mean? It is meaningless. Liberals, when they say liberals, I mean the word liberal sounds liberating, but it's being used as a nasty.
Well, the idea of being liberal is kind of going, well, I kind of get what you're saying, and I kind of get what you're saying, so why can't we just gel? But it's not now. Liberal as a term to be left. Communism, but it's not like that,
It's unusual, isn't it? How the words have all been twisted. Everything's been twisted, and I also think about the
socialist. Yeah. I also think of the circular nature of things, where people can get so right wing, they end up being left wing, and vice versa. It's like.
But it kind of does that, doesn't it? I mean, it only took the Holocaust for everybody to suddenly start, thinking, oh, we do need each other. We do.
Yeah, exactly.
Need each other.
After World War II, everyone's like, you know what? I think we have some. What should we call it? Human rights. Let's have some human rights. I think we need some human rights.
Yes.
Which they're kind of throwing out.
Oh yeah, because
proverbial water now to suit other agendas. Exactly. To get illegals out of the country.
But then, as a kid, you're growing up. Do right, don't commit crimes, be good. Help each other, love thy neighbor. All of these messages that you get growing up, and you think, well, how come they're not doing it? The ones who are teaching the messages, how come they're not doing that themselves?
Well, that's the thing. But then you grow up and you realize that things aren't binary. Things aren't this or that, left or right. No. There's colors. There's not black or white. There's colors to everything. It'd be nice if we could go 011001110 to everything, but we can't.
Which so happens to be an episode of Star Trek Next Generation.
A binary code.
Yeah, about binary species.
Well, if I can bring it back to X-Files, while we started talking about this, can you see that?
Conduit. Oh, paperclip.
I've turned the paperclip into a triangle.
Paperclip was an episode of X-Files, and Triangle was an episode of X-Files.
I brought it back.
You brought it back.
I brought it back.
Physical comedy, people, on a radio.
We're the audio to a visual world.
Yeah. We've got faces for radio, and we like to show and tell. But
yeah, we've got faces for radio and voices for silent cinema. So
that's it.
But two incredible episodes, I think. Very different. Where Triangle, I think, was more of a technical exercise, dealing with a dark part in history, but not really focusing on that, and more being a technical exercise of what you can do with cameras, long shots, very clever. It's quite funny in parts. It's nice to see the characters do something different.
Yes, and that's the thing. You want to see
even the ending of it is like they've rescued Mulder. You don't know if it was in Mulder's head while he was drowning. He'll envision this whole thing, and he gets saved. Because at the end of the episode, he jumps overboard.
Yes.
He gives Mulder a kiss. Mulder punches him. He thinks, I also thought it'd be the left hand, not the right hand, and he jumps overboard. And then back he's in the real world. He's been saved, and he's in hospital. Yeah. Everyone's there. Skinner's there going, you better get ready, because when you come around, I'm going to kick your ass for doing that, doing another Mulder thing. And he looks at Scully, goes, hey, Scully. And she goes, yes. And he says to her, like, I love you. And I think it's the first time he's ever said it.
That is the first time.
And she rolls her eyes and goes, oh, brother, and walks off and leaves him alone.
That's it.
And it's a great, beautiful way of ending it. But it's all levity and it's all funny.
It is. It's kept
Deep
light.
Space Nine. Yeah, Deep Space Nine, dark, and has really caused what I've very much enjoyed. For once, a real dark, serious conversation.
It is, and it has, and I think we kind of we get to the point where it's like, we can't not talk about it. This is the episode where we talk about it, and we know what we want. We know what It doesn't take two brain cells to start thinking about other people as human beings. It doesn't.
No,
it takes so little brainwave to think that peace is possible and that we can all get on together. It's such an easy way to think. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. But that's it. That's the thing. I mean, like we say, it should be in the drama. It should be on TV and film and games, but not reality.
As Nick Lowe once said, "What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding?"
He said that. He did.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Look what I've still got, by the way. That's my mouse mat.
Yes. Look at that, frame by frame. Honeymoon and Starry Eyes. I was thinking about that the other day because I think
episode 20.
Oh, what a great episode. And if you would like to look back at that episode, you can go onto YouTube, Audible, iTunes, and Spotify. We're available on all major podcast networks because we are that important.
Yes, and obviously we're so important. Within the last hour, we've just solved racism.
We solved it? Well, it's...
Yeah, there's no racism anymore because obviously this podcast is like, we've just brought the world together. We're like Bill and Ted.
Dude.
Which also deals with time.
Yeah, they also deal with time travel, and of course, we've got the best truth sayer in the whole history of truth sayers in that movie as well, George Carlin.
George Carlin. Whoa! And now before we ruin it.
Yeah, and now before we ruin it. Okay.
That was brilliant.
You've been Andy Lewin.
I certainly have. You've been Stephen Radford with a towel around your neck.
Oh, this is a blanket. I've got a cold shoulder.
Yeah, it's pretty cold today.
It is cold, so I'm going to go and get some food. And,
me too.
And then contemplate editing this beauty. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Yep. Pleasure as always.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Wow. Did we just end it properly?
I feel the need for speed.
Ow!
Charlie, don't surf!
This is fantasy.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Quit griping.
I like griping.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.